Hey guys, my name is Lori Unruh Poole. I'm a boudoir photographer based in Wilmington, North Carolina. And today I am talking to you all about the products that you need to be offering to your boudoir clients. So boudoir is definitely an up and coming and very hot niche. But a lot of times when we're mentoring photographers on boudoir, they get kind of tripped up over what products they need to be offering. So I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about that today. So this is me and my husband, Jeff. He's back there taking pictures of me up on the stage. But we are photographers first and foremost, but we are also educators, and we like to share our experience with other people so that y'all can maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that we ran into when we were first starting our studio. So we're always very honest about what those pitfalls are. Sometimes you see educators speak and they act like everything's perfect and they have it all figured out. And life isn't always like that, and I think it's important to be real about those kinds of things. So we are definitely an open book. Feel free to ask any questions about anything that we go over today. This is our contact information here. So our studio is Indigo Silver Studio, as I mentioned, in Wilmington, North Carolina. And our education brand, if you guys are looking for mentoring, is through Photo Insight. And then we just started a new business called Lead Savage that helps photographers market. But enough about us. This presentation today is sponsored by Miller's. They are our lab partner, and they help us do what we do. So a lot of the products that I'm going to be talking to you guys about today are from Miller's, so that you guys can have an idea of where to go and shop for some of these amazing things. Okay, let's get into it. So, as I mentioned before, when we're mentoring with boudoir clients or boudoir photographers, a lot of times they're kind of wondering about what sort of products they should be offering to their clients. Because it is a little bit different than family portraits, right? They're not necessarily purchasing wallets, for example. They're not giving out gift prints to friends and family of their boudoir photos. They're definitely not buying all the little tchotchkes like the key rings and the statuettes and all the fun things that we as photographers love to offer our clients. And they're not buying wall art, right? Like big giant pictures of their naked selves up maybe over the mantle display, like, here's my booty. No? Or are they? I don't know. That's what we're going to talk about today. So my advice to you is always to keep it simple. As photographers, I mean, just walking around this trade show, you've seen a million different products, right? And you can see it on the faces of people as they're walking up and down the trade show. It's like this. Right? Like, we easily get overwhelmed because there's so much stuff here. And we get excited about it, right? Like, we see this album and that thing and this thing and this thing, and we want to offer it all because it's all so cool and so exciting. But think about if we're here at this trade show and we're in the industry and we get overwhelmed by all of the options, what are we doing to our clients if we give them all of the options? So my advice is to really keep it simple, really narrow down your focus and narrow what you're offering to your clients, and that's going to help with that overwhelm, because you don't really want them deciding between, 97 different options. You really want them to decide how many pictures do they want to buy, right? So keep their decisions simple. Now, on that note, there's basically, as a boudoir photographer, there's 5 products that you need to sell. That's really it. Just 5. So we're going to talk about what those are. Before we talk about what the products are, though, let's talk about why we're selling products to begin with. How many people here do in-person sales or offer any kind of products other than digital files? Couple of hands. I see some people in the back. Awesome. Okay, good. When we're thinking about what kind of products we want to offer, one of the first things we need to be asking ourselves is, why are we offering that product? Is it just a matter of, it looks cool, so I thought I'd offer it? If that's the only reason, you're going to have a hard time relaying that to your client in order to convince them why they need to buy it. So if you don't know why you're selling it, they don't know why they're going to buy it. So you need to understand what your why is in why you're offering the different products that you offer. You also want to have a little bit of insight into why your client is booking a boudoir session to begin with. As we've talked about, boudoir is a pretty unique niche, right? So the reason why they're booking a session is going to be different than why, a mom and dad might book a family portrait session, for example. Or it might be different than why a wedding couple is booking a wedding photographer. So you need to understand the unique motivations that your client has when they book a boudoir session. And once you can start having those conversations and start understanding why you want to offer boudoir photography, why you want to offer the products that you do, and why your clients are booking you, that's going to help you understand your products a little bit better. But that's all very nebulous, right? So let's get a little bit more specific, let's get a little bit more concrete and talk about what these things are. I've found in my experience as a boudoir photographer that there are really 5 needs that you need to fulfill with your products. And those needs are quantity, greatest hits, visual affirmation, keepsake, and archive. So let's talk a little bit more about what those are. Your quantity is really the backbone of your price list. So when you show your clients 50, 60, 70 images, however many you proof them, you're gonna wanna give them something that holds a majority of those images. And that's gonna be what drives your price list and what drives your sale. That's where the majority of your conversation needs to revolve around. Now your greatest hits product, that's gonna be something that's not the majority of the images, but you're gonna narrow it down to like a handful of their favorites and come up with a product that offers that. Then from there, visual affirmation. So we are, as boudoir photographers, we get really excited about like the albums and digital files and things like that. And those are the things that your clients are gonna gravitate to the most easily. But those are something that they have to go and physically either pick up the album and flip through it, or they have to sit down at their computer and look through their images. So they have to take action in order to see those images. You need to have a product that they can view passively, that they don't have to take action to go and view, and that's that visual affirmation. And I'm gonna talk a little bit more in depth about what each of these things are, but this is the overview. Okay, then you need something that's a keepsake. So again, as boudoir or as photographers in general, we get really excited about all the unique products out there. This is where you get to throw in those unique things, the little tchotchkes, the little keepsakes, something that's cool that they don't get from their 24-hour photo lab. Oh, that rug is trying to get me. Okay, and then your last need that you need to fulfill is archive. A lot of clients are gonna want the images just to have them, and there's ways that you can talk to your clients about how to encourage that sort of purchasing behavior. But let's dig in a little deeper. Let's talk about quantity. So as I mentioned before, from your session, you might be proofing your client, dozens, tens, hundreds of images. It kind of depends on your shooting style. I usually proof my clients somewhere between 80 to 100 is about how many I show them from the session. Now that's after I've culled down the blanks, the blurs, the duplicates, the unusables, that one doesn't look so good, let's move on. So 80 to 100 different photos is what I proof them. Now they're gonna still narrow that down further because there might be a photo that I look at and think, that looks amazing, and they're gonna look at it and be like, no, see, I'm doing that face. You don't know that face, but that's my mom's face, and I don't need to be making that face. There's gonna be reasons that they narrow them down, right? So my average sale, I would say, is somewhere between 45 to 60 images total is what the client ends up falling in love with. I need to give them a product that can hold the majority of those images. Now for me, that's gonna be an album. That's the easiest way to combine that many images into a cohesive product. So your album or your quantity product, this, as I mentioned before, this is gonna be what drives your sale. This is going to be the backbone or the flagship of your product offering. This is like the primary goal where they're spending the most of their time, the most of their effort, and the most of their dollars in order to acquire. So for me, that's the Miller Signature Album. I have several of them on display up here. Now, the albums that I have on display are examples of the options that I choose for my studio, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But there's a million different options out there, right? So what you want to look for when you're looking for something to be your album is you want to look for something that you can customize. Boudoir is incredibly personal. And when you are photographing someone in a state that's that vulnerable, they're gonna wanna feel like they are being taken care of, and they want something that's custom. They don't want something that feels like they could just get it off of Shutterfly, right? So you want something that's customizable, you want something that's luxurious, you want something that feels like a splurge. As I mentioned before, I've got some albums up here. We're going to talk about what some of these different options are. Now, pricing strategy for your albums, what I recommend when I teach photographers their pricing strategy is I recommend that you really narrow it down to one album and then offer options within that. So offer different sizes, for example, offer different covers, offer different ways that they can move through those different album offerings, What you don't want to do is I see a lot of photographers have 3 very different albums, like a good, better, best, and then you end up spending a lot of time and a lot of decision power on understanding the differences between those different albums. Whereas, again, that's not really where we want our client to focus all of their time and their effort, is understanding that. We want them to just focus on which images do they love, do they want a small, medium, large, again, keeping it simple. So I offer 3 different sizes, just like you can see in this photo. I offer the 8x8, the 10x10, and the 12x12 from the Miller Signature album line. These are all of the different cover options that Miller's offers for their signature albums. They have leather and linen and velvet and suede, and they have metallic options, and they have options that have like patterns stamped down into them, and they have laser etched options, and a million different options. So remember before when we talked about you want your product to be customizable, this is where they get to start feeling like this album is something that's truly theirs and truly unique. So I don't know how many that is. I haven't counted them, but lots of cover options. And again, you can see a handful of them up here. You can also add an image panel to the front of your album. So this album that you see up on the TV is actually right here on this ottoman if you want to come and pick it up and look through it. That is an acrylic image panel on the front. Miller's also offers image cameos, and we're going to talk about in a minute that you may want to limit some of the options, so I don't offer those, but again, there's different ways that you can customize this. You can also print on your cover. You can print pretty much anything that you can design. If you can design it in Photoshop, they can print it on your cover. You can print in either black or white. So again, you can customize this to your heart's content. I've had clients do cowboy boots and flowers and starfish and turtles and a million different things under the sun. This client on the left, she wanted something where her name was turning into waves. Okay, I can do that. So that level of customization is again going to make your client feel loved and feel valued. This is an example of the laser etch. You can actually etch patterns into the fabrics as well. My favorite is to do the laser etch into the velvet so that it almost becomes almost like corduroy, right? It's like 3D where you can actually feel the laser etch in the fabric. Again, this green album up here does actually have a laser etch in it. I don't know if you can see it in the photo. Okay, you can kind of see the triangles down the side. So if you want to see an example of what that looks like, again, feel free to come up here and look. And then this is a newer option that they are offering with their albums. This is a custom deboss. So just like you could do the custom printing with any kind of design that you can come up with, you can actually deboss into the fabric as well. And so what a deboss is they basically, you submit your design, they make a metal plate out of that design and they stamp it down into the leather. And then you can add a foil. So this is the copper foil that I added to that deboss. And I tried to shoot it at a low angle so that you can see that there's like a texture to it and it's actually pressed down into the leather, but really, really unique. So actually up here I have this cover is debossed onto this box, this album, and this box so that you can see what it looks like on different products. Okay, new for this year, Miller's has just introduced their signature album box. That is the box that you see right here in front of me. So the album box is a new addition that you can add on to your album. All of the same cover options for the album you can get with your box. So this album is designed to fit inside of this box. They are a set. And then they give you this little pull ribbon to lift the album out. The sides are crafted out of white oak. And then the cover for the box, again, is any of the covers that I showed you on that slide earlier, all of those different fabrics. So you do not have to design them to match. I obviously wanted to because I feel like that's a really cool look, but you could do something different on the box that you do on the album. So this is something that, again, just really makes your products feel high-end. This is so much better than like a basic cardboard box or just sticking it in a bag or something like that. And obviously something that they're gonna keep, on their bookshelf or display. So again, you guys feel free to come up and see these. Also, this is that copper deboss that I was just telling you about on that previous slide. Okay, how am I gonna get back up? I'm too short to climb back up. Okay, oh, wrong way. Okay, now, I alluded to this a little bit previously, but again, there are so many options, even just within the signature album line, that I have decided to exclude some of those options in my studio, just so that I don't spend hours walking my client through every option that's possible. And you're also gonna look at some of those options and feel like maybe it's just not a fit for what you wanna offer. So for example, they offer 3 different page thicknesses. I offer mine they have just like the regular thickness, then thick and double thick. All of mine are thick, which is like the middle option. So again, you can see that on all of these up here. I've got a couple of these that are propped up, so you can actually see how thick those pages are, or you can see it up on the side. They're about the thickness of a quarter. So they feel really like nice. They don't feel like something that's gonna crumple up and get destroyed really easily. But I don't give my clients the option of which thickness do you want, because again, that's too much brain power on something that's not really relevant to moving the sale forward, okay? Same thing goes with paper type. I don't even know how many different paper types Miller's offers for their albums. I narrow it down to just my favorite, which is the felt. It's like a matte, but it has a little bit of a texture to it. So I was actually an art major at heart, and it reminds me of all of my favorite drawing papers that I had when I was an art student. You wanted a paper that had what was called tooth, so that it would grab your graphite or what have you. So it reminds me of that. It feels very artsy to me. So again, you're gonna decide, what things you wanna offer as options, what things you may just never even wanna tell them as an option, so that you can keep it simple. Okay, so let's move into need number 2. So let me step back for just a second. So your album, again, is going to be like the primary product where you focus the majority of your time during the sales appointment and your client's time, and where they're going to focus the majority of their dollars. But then you want to offer them different options and give them different needs to fulfill so that they continue to purchase. So need number 2 is going to be the greatest hits. So with an album, as I mentioned before, my clients are usually picking somewhere between 45 to 65 images for their album. That's a lot of images, but they still want something that has like their very favorites. So down here in front of you, this is actually an album box. So it's the same box as this one, just a different shape. It's a signature album box, but I have filled it with mats. So it's the 8x10 album box filled with 8x10 mats. And now the client picks her favorite 15 images from the shoot that will go in this box. Now I'm giving her, for one thing, a different need. This is like your favorites of the favorites go in here, but I'm also giving her a different way to display them, because these are in individual mats, she can actually take these out and frame them if she wants to. Or you can have like a his and hers version, right? Like she puts all her favorites in here, but then, the extra like favorite-y ones that she gives to her partner or whatever the case may be. I'm just giving her a different idea and a different way to preserve her images and a different way to purchase, essentially. Not everyone is going to choose this, right? Some people are going to put all their favorites in the album and they're going to be done, and that's fine. But if you don't give them additional options for things to purchase, they can't buy. So you always want to give your clients a way to spend more if they want to, and some people will opt for the box as an add-on. Things you want to look for in this product is you still want something that is going to fit with your brand. There's a lot of different boxes out there, but some of them are going to be they may not fit with your brand as much, which is why I love the fact that I can actually order these to match from the same company. So this is, again, the signature album box, and it's filled with matted prints. Here's just another view of that same product. Okay, need number 3, this is your visual affirmation. So as I mentioned before, something like these, they're gonna get closed up and put away on a shelf most days, and your client may go throughout the entire day without seeing her images. So now you tell her, if you want to remember what today feels like, you want something that you're going to see every day without you having to make the decision to go and look at your images, a wall portrait is perfect for that. And it doesn't have to go over your mantle. This can go in your master bath, in your closet, in your bedroom. There's lots of different ways you can display that. But once I started framing wall portraits as a visual affirmation, my wall portrait sales went up for Boudoir. Because I'm changing that mindset of like, oh, I can't have that on my wall, to, wait, now I actually want that. Oh, wrong way. Okay, here's an example of a canvas display. So we mocked it up on the left, that's a mock-up, and then the one on the right is the actual photo hanging in her room. So you can kind of get an idea of how you might display this kind of stuff. Okay, number 4 is your keepsake. This is gonna be your fun little products that are just like an add-on. You wanna look for something that holds 1 to 3, 4, 5 at the most images, just something that holds a few images, but something that's in a cool product that they haven't seen before. This is an example of the Miller's image folio. So I put an image on the cover and then one each on the left and right panel. You can obviously design them to hold more, but I recommend that you don't. If you start putting 10 images in here, you're gonna start competing with your albums. So again, keep this simple, keep it light, keep it just 1 image per side, nice and clean. Miller's also offers postcards, so I call them love notes. And just by calling them love notes, my clients are like, oh my gosh, I love that, I have to have it. So again, just giving them something fun and unique and a cool way for them to use their images. Number 5 is your archive. Used to be when I first started with Boudoir, I had clients being like, I'm not gonna print my own images. I'm not going down to Walmart to face the teenager guy with my nude photos, and I'm not putting them on social media, so why do I need digitals? And I was like, that was a really good question. I don't know why you need them. And so I didn't sell digitals. One year I decided I'm just gonna start telling people, you know, most people want their digital files just so that they have them. Like, we got your favorites in the album and we got a handful in these other products, but most people just still wanna have them. Just by putting that suggestion out there, now people are buying digital files, and most people are buying the full set because they want to make sure they get the ones that didn't go in the products. So think about just different ways that you can give them suggestion on how to buy. So, like I mentioned, you really only need 5 basic products, 5 basic needs that you're fulfilling, and with that, you can achieve amazing sales. So my largest Boudoir sale to date, just based off of the products that I showed here in front of you, was a little over $11,000. That was for the session fee, a 12-inch album, which is this size here, with 65 images, and then an album clone. So I was like, maybe you want a his and hers, and he's like, you know what, yes I do. The complete set of files, like I just mentioned, and then a small box with 10 prints in it. That's it. So it's really easy. The more simple you keep your product lineup, the easier it is to actually achieve these sales. Here's another large sale that I had. Lots of different wall portraits, a box, an album. You get the idea. This is more what a typical sale might look like. So not all of my clients go over the top and buy everything, but usually, again, think of the needs I'm fulfilling here. The album, the box, the folio, the wall portrait. Okay, so again, this talk was sponsored by Miller's. We want to thank them so much for being able to provide all these products and give you guys these amazing ideas. If you guys want to know more about sales and how to start thinking about your sales when you're doing in-person sales, I am speaking on Thursday morning over in St. Thomas A and B. So 8:30, I'm doing psychology of sales, and I'd love to see you all there. Thank you guys so much for coming.